Welcome to Equal Entertainment. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. Matthew Perry's memoir about his life, career, and his battle with addiction is #1 on Amazon. Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing came out last year. In it, Perry details his life and how he struggled with alcoholism. Perry was very vocal in advocating for others who are struggling with addiction or who are on their journey with sobriety. He began a sober living facility out of his Malibu home to help men through their struggles. Perry was found dead at his Los Angeles home. He was 54 years old. Daytime Emmy-winning soap opera star Tyler Christopher has died at age 50. He played the character Nicholas Cassadine on General Hospital on and off from 1996 to 2016. He also played Stefan DiMera on Days of Our Lives in 2018 and 2019. Christopher died after suffering a cardiac event in his San Diego apartment. His General Hospital co-star Maurice Bernard says Christopher was an advocate for better mental health and substance abuse treatment. Christopher also openly talked about his struggles with bipolar depression and alcohol. Tyler Christopher was 50 years old. A settlement agreement has been reached in the estate of late singer Lisa Marie Presley. It comes after a petition was filed in January by the singer's mother, Priscilla Presley, questioning the validity of her daughter's will. A Los Angeles judge approved the settlement, ending a long dispute between Lisa's mother and her eldest daughter, actress Riley Keough. Details in the agreement were not made public. Lisa Marie Presley died in January after being hospitalized following an apparent cardiac arrest. She was 54 years old and the only child of the late rock and roll legend, Elvis Presley. Magnus Riise is living his fully authentic self in the form of a new song and video called Earthquake. His debut LP is called Until Tomorrow. The lyrics from Earthquake are breaking the walls down on toxic queer relationships.
Yes, of course. Well, I want to begin, Magnus, by asking you a little bit about the kind of overall inspiration and process of writing Until Tomorrow, the EP.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. The pandemic kind of was a sort of dive into, you have the time to really dig in on the things you've been wanting to do. So I think for me, I really wanted to create something that was very honest, that felt like it was very authentically me. And that's where the themes of the EP came to be. And those kind of concepts kind of naturally grew from that. And then, I studied musical theater. I come from a theater background. I really wanted to make it a visual storytelling. So that's when I also decided to make it, a visual EP with a music video for each song. And now I'm up to four out of five. So
Yeah, really wonderful. Thank you. And then I want to talk a little bit about the song Until Tomorrow, which is beautifully choreographed. And, the lyrics are quite kind of pining and vulnerable. It's a song about wanting something more than, just a one-off, one night stand or something. And there's real vulnerability in that. Would you touch on writing that song and opening up in that way for that song?
yeah, I think I think a lot of, especially as a queer person, there's always this push and pull of living in a society that wasn't quite created for you, and feeling some sort of what should I call it, like a pressure, some form of outside pressure. And I think in a lot of scenarios we bring those things in. So whether that is something that's supposed to be casual, and you don't feel like you have the permission to say that maybe this could be something more. So I think, running theme on the album is this idea of saying what you keep unsaid. So, with that song, the way I imagined it was the person has left, and 5 seconds later, this is what I say that I wish I was able to say while they were still there. And of course, it is, especially with New York City, especially in the queer world, it can be with so many people in the city. It can, there's always a new person down the block in another neighborhood. And I think there's a loneliness to that. So, it really speaks to this sort of, while I think sex positivity is very important, I think there's also this idea of closeness, and wanting something more is also equally as important.
Yeah, that does actually feel also very much of post-pandemic, of after having been isolated and, yeah. hmm And then your song For You, you wrote an essay to go along with this song about your past struggles with mental health. And would you talk a bit about writing this song and what it's been for you to, I mean, get it off your chest, so to speak, and to possibly have it out there for people that may feel not inspired, but may resonate with it and feel like they're not alone because you put this out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that song was kind of the song I knew kind of had to be on the album if I was going to really be honest. And I think a common thing we find with a lot of people, I'm certainly one of them, is that I've always advocated for other people's mental health and I celebrate when other people are open, but then it's so hard to do that yourself. So with the song, I said, if you kind of have to practice what you preach, and I decided I wanted to be open with it. And it's interesting because you carry so much weight with these things that people might not know about you, or the idea, as you said, like that this is going to be out there for anyone to find, and releasing it, the moment it's out, it's like you almost wonder what the wait was there for, because the feedback has been amazing. I've found people who've opened up to me who I already knew in my life about stuff they've gone through because my song or my video gave them permission, and you realize that we let ourselves be held back by carrying so much weight that once we shine a light on it, it's not as heavy anymore. So while it was definitely scary to release, it's really been amazing to see that the fear, all the things you might be scared of did not come to fruition. If anything, it's been a very positive experience.
Great. Well, thank you. And you now have your video for Earthquake out, and it's beautifully choreographed. It's just incredible. But I want to begin with the story, the actual lyrics of the song, and how it, well, and I guess it does go into this video storytelling as well. But you touch on not just a toxic relationship, but one that is abusive. And would you talk about wanting to touch on that? Because it's something that's not always talked about, especially in queer relationships.
Totally. I mean, I think, there's something about, the choice of it being earthquake. An earthquake is dangerous. An earthquake is scary, but there's also like a little bit of an element of a thrill in there. And what was important to me with this video, that it's not just one person abusing another. Because the song ends with waiting for another earthquake. It is the complicity of choosing to go back to it over and over again. And it links to the same things as in Until Tomorrow, this longing for something. And I think, following on from what we were talking about earlier, feeling like, we have all of these things that the straight world had access to that the queer world didn't. And now that a lot of those things are more within reach, I think it's very easy to really sort of strive to fit some sort of molds that now you can actually grab onto. And I think sometimes that means you hold on to something that you shouldn't. And that's why, visually it was important that it should open kind of feeling like the queer American dream. It's like the perfect guy, the perfect house, the pool, maybe you don't even need to work anymore. And then as it progresses, you start to see, like, especially in an age of social media, that things, under the surface is not exactly like the way it seems. So I think that as progress happens, it's also important to, people started saying in movies, I want some gay villains. If you try to always portray someone as like the most ideal human, that's also not equality. So I think we have to acknowledge that, yes, there are beautiful marriages where people have kids and are in the most healthy relationships, but also the other is true as well. And
welcome to Good Burger, home of The Good Burger. The classic 90s movie is getting a sequel, and the new trailer is here. Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell are back for the sequel, playing their iconic characters Ed and Dexter. The original hit theaters in 1997. This time, the two fast food employees are getting replaced by robots that look and talk like them. Fans can see Good Burger 2 on Paramount Plus on November 22nd. You can watch the Advocate channel live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate channel, I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and thank you for watching.